Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar Alert. For more than a decade, the Iraqi dinar has been a hot topic, sparking endless speculation. If you've been following this, you're probably asking the same question as countless others. Why hasn't the Iraqi dinar revalued yet? Every day, online rumors buzz with talk of hidden delays, secret backroom decisions, and sudden announcements that are just around the corner. But the truth is, the real reasons are much more practical and deeply rooted in economics. Today, we're cutting through all that hype to give you the real story. We'll focus on the economic realities that every single investor needs to understand. First, let's get clear on what revaluation actually means. It's not some magic switch that gets flipped overnight. A revaluation is a formal, official adjustment of a country's currency value. It's a major step, and it's almost always tied to significant, sustainable improvements in the nation's economy. For a revaluation to be successful, and not cause more harm than good, several key conditions must be met. Inflation has to be under control. The economy needs to be stable and, importantly, diversified. The country must have strong foreign currency reserves. And finally, there must be high global confidence in its financial system. Without these solid foundations, a sudden revaluation could be disastrous. So, where does Iraq stand? One of the biggest reasons the dinar has not revalued is that Iraq's economy is still in a major transition. Now, don't get me wrong, the country has made incredible progress since the years of conflict, but it continues to face some massive challenges. Think about it. The economy is still heavily reliant on oil exports. The country's infrastructure is still being rebuilt after decades of neglect and war. And the private sector, the engine of any modern economy, is still in its early stages of growth. An economy that depends almost entirely on one single commodity, like oil, is extremely vulnerable. It's exposed to external shocks, like a sudden drop in oil prices, which makes any aggressive currency appreciation a very risky move. This brings us to the next critical point. Oil dependence limits Iraq's flexibility with its currency. Oil revenue is the lifeblood of Iraq's national budget and its foreign reserves. But it's a double-edged sword. When global oil prices fall, the government's income plummets, creating massive uncertainty. This forces policymakers at the Central Bank of Iraq to prioritize one thing above all else: stability. For them, protecting the dinar from wild swings and volatility is far more important than trying to artificially raise its value before the economy is ready. Think about the consequences. A revaluation without diversified sources of income could trigger runaway inflation and cause capital flight, where money rushes out of the country, destabilizing the entire financial system. And that leads us to another key reason: inflation control. This is a primary job for any central bank. A sudden, sharp increase in the dinar's value might sound great on the surface, but it could have damaging effects internally. It would raise production costs for local industries, disrupt pricing across the board, and ultimately hurt the very local businesses that are trying to grow and create jobs. The Central Bank of Iraq is currently focused on a delicate balancing act. They are managing the money supply to keep a lid on prices. They are working to maintain overall price stability. And they are trying to close the gap that exists between the official exchange rate and the parallel, or black market rate. Until these inflation risks are fully and sustainably managed, a major revaluation simply isn't on the table. Now, let's talk about the banking system. A modern, strong currency requires a modern, trustworthy banking system. This is an area where Iraq is still making ongoing reforms. The country is working hard to strengthen its financial infrastructure. This includes implementing stricter anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing controls. It means building out digital payment systems to modernize transactions, and it involves improving banking transparency and compliance to meet international standards. Why does this matter so much? Because international investors, global banks, and institutions like the IMF and World Bank need to have complete confidence that financial rules are being enforced consistently and transparently. Without this fundamental trust, global acceptance of a stronger dinar will remain limited. No matter what the currency's value is on paper, if the system behind it isn't trusted, it won't be fully embraced on the world stage. Beyond economics, there's another factor that many people underestimate: political stability. Political uncertainty is a huge roadblock. Constant changes in leadership, deep disagreements over national policy, and ongoing regional tensions all create hesitation among foreign investors. Capital is cautious. It flows to places where there is predictability and a clear, stable path forward. The strength and value of a currency depend heavily on this predictability and continuity. Until Iraq can demonstrate long-term political stability and a consistent, unwavering economic policy direction, any major moves with the currency will remain on hold. Investors need to know that the rules of the game won't suddenly change tomorrow. This brings me to the myth of a secret or sudden revaluation. This is probably the most persistent rumor you'll hear in online forums and social media groups. The idea that a revaluation is secretly ready to be announced at any moment is just not how the real world of international finance works. Currency changes of this magnitude are massive undertakings. They involve extensive international coordination with partners and financial institutions. They are preceded by transparent policy announcements from the government and the central bank. And they are often implemented gradually, in phases, to allow the market and the economy to adjust without causing a shock. A hidden or surprise revaluation would completely shatter credibility, destabilize markets, and create chaos. Governments and central banks go to great lengths to avoid this. So, with all that said, what actually needs to happen before a revaluation becomes a real possibility for Iraq? Several milestones must be achieved. First, Iraq needs to show sustained economic growth that goes beyond the oil sector. The private sector must flourish, creating new industries and jobs. Second, the country must build and maintain strong and stable foreign reserves, giving it a buffer against economic shocks. Third, the banking system must become fully modernized and trusted by the international community. Fourth, inflation must be brought under control and kept there. And finally, the nation needs to achieve a new level of political and regulatory stability. These are long-term, structural goals. They are not quick fixes. So what should you, as an investor, be doing instead of just waiting and listening to rumors? The smartest approach is to shift your focus. Rather than waiting for some sudden secret news, informed investors pay attention to the real indicators of progress. Follow the official statements from the Central Bank of Iraq, not from anonymous sources online. Analyze the economic data, the national budget performance, and reports from credible institutions. Watch for news about structural reforms, foreign investment trends, and progress in the banking sector. Understanding this bigger picture is what helps you make rational, informed decisions, rather than emotional ones based on hype. Let's wrap this up with a final thought. Reality over hype. The real reason the Iraqi dinar hasn't revalued yet is all about economic readiness. Iraq is still in the process of building the solid foundations required for a stronger, more stable currency. While progress is absolutely happening, it's measured, it's cautious, and it's a long-term project. For any investor in this space, patience and education are far more valuable than rumors and speculation. The future of the Iraqi dinar will be shaped by real, tangible economic reforms, not by wishful thinking. Thanks for watching. If you found this information valuable, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next update. See you next time.